Hello everybody and welcome to part 6 of What If Izuku Midoriya bonded with Venom. If you enjoy this series and want to see more, don't forget to hit a like and subscribe. You can also check out the Discord link in the description below. Yes, this video has a couple surprises in store for you guys, but there's one thing I want to ask you. What is your opinion on the voices? The Venom voice itself? I think it's better than last time. I've been tooling around with it and want to know your opinion, so let me know. But yeah, I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Enjoy the video. The UA Sports Festival, a competition made for young heroes in the making to show their mettle and get scouted by pros, had ended, and everyone had gone home. After the competition finished, All Might went to the teacher's lounge where he reviewed the video feeds of the recent competition. There doesn't seem to be anyone from the second years that's convincing, All Might said, having finished watching the final event of the second year students. With that, he had finished watching the whole sports festival from start to finish. He grabbed a stack of files and placed them next to him, taking the top one. Mirio Togata, he whispered, opening the file while letting out a deep sigh. He was a worthy candidate for his quirk, and his former psychic had personally recommended him, but when he had met him a couple of months ago, he just didn't feel right. The boy had great potential and an interesting quirk, not to mention the right spirit. He was perfect for the role, but he just didn't feel right. All Might put down the file next to a sign that read unfit. He then spread out the other few files he had grabbed through the table so he could see them all. Ah, the first years. So many worthy candidates among them, he said, grabbing one of the files. Itsuka Kendo seemed to lack a specific drive. He'd assisted in some of Class 1B's classes over the last 2 weeks, so he knew she was the best fit among them, but even then she seemed to miss a certain quality. He put the file down as a maybe. Gatsuki Bakugo. He would certainly make a good hero, but he's far too aggressive for One for All, All Might said after looking over Bakugo's file, putting him into the unfit pile. Mina Ashido. She does have a certain sense of justice and tends to jump into the fray when necessary, but she doesn't seem to take things seriously enough at times, All Might commented after seeing the file. She may be worthy, but he placed her under the maybe. Shoto Todoroki. A powerful kid, but he has far too many family issues he has to deal with to be able to take this responsibility, All Might commented after looking through his file, placing it under the maybe pile. He slowly went through all the files, declining Ojiro, Tokoyami, Shoji, and more until only 2 files were left, those being Midoriya and Kirishima's files. He grabbed Midoriya's and started reading through it, with the memories of the USJ coming to mind. Izuku was undoubtedly helpful, but the enemy seemed to somehow share his quirk. The boy's quirk was powerful, there was no doubt about that, and it even managed to enhance One for All, but something felt incredibly wrong about it all, like there was another sinister force connected to Midoriya. There was a sinister feeling to the power that he didn't seem to like. In the end, All Might's gut feeling caused him to place Midoriya's file in the unfit category. Eijiro Kirishima, a boy with a strong and resilient quirk and spirit, could work quite well combined with One for All. The boy also tends to take action once to protect others. He's the best candidate I have seen so far, All Might thought after reading his file. The red-haired boy had caught his attention many times throughout the training exercises, and his spirit seemed strong. He was definitely the best option he had available. He had made his choice, placing the file in the fit category. He would talk to the boy when school resumed, but he'd share the news with his mentor for now. After the sports festival, the students of UA were given 3 days off to rest and relax from the events and challenges they underwent. On the second day, Midoriya was analyzing a battle that had been on the news, writing down some notes about it. While he did, Venom just kept on annoying him. Izuku asked his partner to stop, but he was still quite fidgety. It seemed like he wouldn't calm down, so Midoriya agreed to watch a movie with him. While watching the movie, Izuku's phone started vibrating a lot. While the movie played on in the background, Izuku picked up the phone and opened Line, checking his messages. Bakugo had sent a couple of messages reading, "Hey Deku, meet me outside in 5 minutes. You there? Come down here now, Deku!"
What is it?
Venom asked, pausing the movie after realizing his partner was no longer paying attention. "It's Bakugo. He wants to meet us outside," Midoriya answered. He got up from the couch and approached the window, spotting Bakugo waiting at the building's entrance.
What does he want?
Venom asked. "I don't know," Midoriya responded, turning around and heading to the entrance. "But there's only one way to find out."
What? You're just going to let him stroll in and ruin our day off and movie? After all he's done to you?
Venom asked, indignant. He knew about Midoriya's feelings towards the bully, but found them completely irrational. After all that Bakugo had done to him, why did he act so friendly towards him? "It's not going to hurt, is it? He probably just wants to talk about something," Midoriya said, leaving the apartment and heading to where Bakugo was. "Took you long enough, nerd," Bakugo said, seeing Izuku come out of the building. "It's not exactly as if I had much time to prepare. I was watching a movie when I saw your message," Midoriya responded. "Come with me," Bakugo said, groaning and walking away. Midoriya just stood there for a second, looking at Bakugo walk away while he wondered what the bully wanted. Where are we going, Kachan?" Midoriya asked, catching up to the bully. "The woods," Bakugo answered, keeping his eyes centered on the path forward.
Perfect. No one will ever find the body there,
Venom commented. "Will you shut up? We aren't going to kill him," Midoriya whispered back.
Oh, why not?
Venom whined. To calm down his partner's bloodlust, Izuku grabbed a couple pieces of chocolate and chucked them down. After a couple minutes of walking, the two childhood friends arrived at the woods. The moment they set foot on the soil, many childhood memories came over Midoriya as he remembered exploring the woods and playing in them. The memories started pleasant, but shifted to some of Bakugo's abuse. "Will you stop doing that?" Midoriya shouted in his mind.
Okay, I'll stop,
Venom responded.
This walk is just getting very boring.
They walked a bit more, reaching a small clearing deep in the woods. Once they got there, Bakugo stopped in place, turning to Midoriya. He had been pondering how to interact with Izuku this whole time, trying to figure out how this conversation would go. "Time for some answers, Deku," Bakugo said, looking at Midoriya with a serious expression. "Where did your quirk come from? What was that guy at the USJ? How come he had the same quirk as you? And how come you knew how to beat him?"
You don't owe him anything, Midoriya.
Venom said.
We should just leave and go home.
Izuku took a deep breath, wondering what he should do. He wasn't sure if he should lie to his friend and come up with an excuse, just leave like Venom suggested, or tell Bakugo the truth. After exhaling, he had made up his mind, so he spoke up. "Look, Kachan, I don't have a quirk. The reason I was able to get into the hero course is because..." He had decided to tell Bakugo the truth. Lying was never his forte. But as he started talking, a couple of black tentacles manifested from his back, blocking his mouth.
What are you doing?
Venom asked in distress. He needed to keep a secret. Bakugo just looked on in confusion, wondering why Izuku would stop himself from speaking like that. "Spit it out already, nerd," Bakugo responded, seeing Izuku trying to claw the tentacles away. "He deserves to know," Midoriya said, but Bakugo only heard muffled talking. The message wasn't meant for him, so it was fine.
Why do you want to tell him so badly?
Venom asked.
The less people know about us, about me, the better.
"If you don't want to tell me, then I'll force the answers out of you," Bakugo said, charging at Midoriya and unleashing an explosion at him. As Bakugo charged towards them, Venom enveloped Midoriya in his suit and jumped into the trees, taking cover in them. What Midoriya was wearing was an almost exact copy of his hero costume, All it was missing was the armor plating and support items. "I'm not letting you leave without telling me, Deku!" Bakugo shouted, using his explosions to propel himself towards Midoriya, trying to capture him. Venom again forced Izuku to jump away, extending a tentacle to hang from a tree. "If you're not gonna talk, at least fight back, you coward! You're just as weak as you've ever been, Deku!" Bakugo shouted, trying to catch the boy as he jumped through the trees, taking cover from Bakugo.
No matter what you say, the person you call Deku isn't weak.
Venom shouted. "Let me talk to him," Midoriya shouted in his head, trying to compel his partner to let him speak.
No!
Venom responded in kind, still taking control of his body and dodging Bakugo. "Like I give a crap. You'll always be a weakling to me, Deku!" Bakugo shouted, getting closer and closer to Venom, trying to catch him. As this happened, Venom maneuvered through a tree, extending a tentacle and completely spinning around it. He was copying a move he had seen Kamui Woods use. After using the branch to spin around, he jumped onto Bakugo's back, throwing him down while jumping back into the air. "You know that if you don't let me talk to him now, it'll probably happen some other time, right?" Midoriya argued as Venom headed towards the outskirts of the woods, trying to get away from Bakugo. Bakugo used his explosions to accelerate his speed, catching up to Midoriya, who was fighting back against Venom's influence, trying to take control of his body back. From past experiences, he knew Venom couldn't remain in control without his permission for long. Those factors allowed Bakugo to catch up and overpower Venom, pinning him to the ground. "Now talk! Where did your quirk come from? What was that guy at the USJ? How come he had the same quirk as you, and how come you knew how to beat him?" Bakugo reiterated his questions from earlier. Seeing that he wasn't answering, Bakugo unleashed 2 medium-sized explosions next to Midoriya, weakening the symbiote. He then reached out to the mask, ripping it off Midoriya in order to see his face. "As I told you before, I still don't have a quirk," Midoriya said.
Stop!
Venom shouted out loud. Again, 2 tentacles came out of Midoriya's body, blocking him from talking, but Bakugo ripped them off, allowing Midoriya to speak. "The only reason I am able to do what I do is because of a Clintar, a sort of symbiote that..." Again, Midoriya was blocked from talking, but Bakugo again ripped the muffle out of his mouth. "A sort of symbiote that bonded with me. He's the black goop that comes out of my body. He needed a compatible host to survive and gave me the power I needed to be a hero in exchange for its life. His name's Venom. Say hi, Venom."
I still disagree with this choice.
Venom said, showing his face for a moment.
Plus, I don't like him. So you're on your own on this one, Izuku.
Venom then vanished into Midoriya's body, fully retracting. "What about the USJ? How come there was another one of these symbiotes?" Bakugo asked. He still hadn't processed what Midoriya had said, but was already asking clarification. He had let go of Midoriya, allowing him to get up. He was apparently another of the same species. They're aliens from a planet far away. How he got there, I'm not sure, but his name is Riots, I think. The reason I was able to tell you his weakness is because the species seems to share it, Midoriya responded. Bakugo asked question after question, which Midoriya answered as best he could. Once his curiosity had been satisfied, Bakugo started heading home, wanting to process all he had learned correctly. If he hadn't seen that face coming out of Midoriya, he wouldn't have believed him. But it all started happening after they went to that space museum, so it kind of added up. Before Bakugo could leave, Midoriya stopped him, asking him to keep it a secret since if he got out, Midoriya and Venom would likely be taken in by a government and experimented on. "Sure thing, nerd. I'll keep my mouth shut," Bakugo said, leaving the woods. The next day passed quite quickly, and school started up once more. Izuku still had the confrontation he had with Bakugo in his mind, but he still made his way to school. While riding the train, he got recognized by some of the passengers who cheered him on. Once he reached his station, he kept on walking, thinking about all that was said during their conversation.
Are you sure we shouldn't go faster? You're cutting it a bit close.
Venom said as Midoriya walked through the rain. It's fine. We still have time, Midoriya responded. Morning, Midoriya, Ida said as he ran by him. Good morning, Midoriya responded. Why on earth are you walking so slowly? We'll be late, Ida said as he passed Midoriya.
See? Told ya.
Venom said. Late? But we still have 5 minutes before the first bell, Midoriya said as he ran behind Ida, trying to catch up. The two students kept going at a quick pace, entering the school shortly after meeting. Once they had packed their rain gear away, Midoriya turned to Ida, wanting to talk to him. He had read what had happened on the news and could imagine the pain Ida was going through. So, Ida, Midoriya started, but Ida cut him off, saying, If it's about my brother, you needn't be concerned. I'm sorry if I made you worry. Everything will be fine. He then walked away, heading to class.
He's lying. He's hurt,
Venom commented inside Midoriya's head, confirming the boy's suspicions. Midoriya then headed to his classroom, where he found everyone talking about the sports festival and being on the news. What are you all doing standing around like that? Aizawa asked, entering the classroom after the bell had rung, still wearing many bandages. You should all be in your seats by now. The class did not expect to see their teacher return so quickly. He looked pretty hurt as he was still missing an arm, but his serious demeanor and look caused everyone to go back quickly. The atmosphere in the class was quite different from when Midnight was teaching them.
Mr. Aizawa, you're back,
Tsuyu commented, surprised to see him there.
Are you sure it's okay for you to come back so soon?
Ashido asked.
It's been less than a month.
Doesn't it take a couple of months to recover from losing a limb? Shoji asked. I talked with the doctors. The old lady went kind of overboard on the treatment, so I recovered quicker. It's okay for me to come back to class, but it'll take a while before I can get back into active duty, Aizawa explained. Anyway, let's stop wasting time on pointless chit-chatter and get to it. He looked over at the remote for the screen, wanting to pick it up. His instinct was to pick it with his left hand, but he couldn't. It took him a moment, but he reached over with the right hand and grabbed it, pressing the button. A bunch of numbers appeared on screen, showcasing how many offers each student had gotten. Toroki had gotten 4,123, Bakugo 3,177, Midoriya had 589, Ida had 361, Kaminari got 302, Yaoyorozu 108, Tokoyami 96, etc. I trust Midnight informed you about the hero offers and prospects before the sports festival? Aizawa said after the numbers went on screen. Some members of the class nodded to this statement, so he continued. This means that starting next week and lasting for a whole week, you'll be joining pro heroes and working alongside them, whether they send you an offer or not. For that, there are many things you'll need to prepare for, starting with code names. That is what we'll be focusing on for the next class period. The class went ballistic, very excited about the prospect, but Aizawa quickly calmed them down. He then went on to explain the importance of picking a good name, even if temporary, inviting Midnight in to judge the names. The students were given boards and a couple of minutes to try and think of some names.
What are we gonna pick?
Venom asked. I don't know, Midoriya answered in his head, trying to come up with a name. He had made up so many hero names when he was a child, but they just didn't seem to fit anymore. I think only one name fits anymore, Midoriya said, having come up with a name.
I completely agree,
Venom expressed. Izuku then started writing on the board. He wrote a D, then an E. As he wrote, black goop expanded through his arm. Before it could finish the following letter, Venom took control of the arm and crossed out the word. What are you doing? Midoriya bellowed.
That's not the right name,
Venom responded as he started writing a different name. He wrote a V, then an E, then an N. But before he could write the next letter, Izuku took control of his arm back and crossed out the word. "We're not going to write your name," Izuku exclaimed.
And your alternative is better?
Venom inquired.
Now, students, who among you is ready to share?
Midnight asked, inviting them to take the spotlight. Students started presenting their hero names as Midoriya and Venom bickered, trying to decide on which name to use for their hero identity. In the end, Venom managed to win the argument and he got to choose the name. He chose the name Venom, which got approved by Midnight, even though she was a bit hesitant. After all the names were chosen, the students were given a bit of time to work through their list and try to decide who they'd do their internships with. They started going through their options until class ended and the lunch period began. Aizawa left the class, reminding his students that they had to give in their choices by the end of the week. Once the lunch period started, the students headed to the cafeteria to get some food. Ida had just suddenly vanished, so Izuku went along with Uraraka to eat lunch. As they headed to the cafeteria, they spotted All Might come out of nowhere to ask Kirishima if he would like to eat with him. There was no way he could say no to eating with the number one hero, so Kirishima accepted. As Midoriya and Uraraka ate in the cafeteria, joined by Hagaku and Tsuyu, Kirishima went to the teacher's lounge to eat with All Might. There he was presented with an interesting proposition, along with a couple of unexpected revelations. In the end, he accepted All Might's proposal, adding his power onto the one he already possessed. Midoriya had trouble making a decision, but thanks to his partner he ended up making a very interesting decision regarding the internships, going with the highest offer in terms of rankings, even though they didn't have a formal agency or any sidekicks. Once the week came to an end, he along with everyone else gave in their choices. A couple of days passed and the day for the internships to begin arrived. That day, Class 1A met with their teacher at midnight at the train station, where Aizawa again reminded his students that they needed to be serious about all of this since it was an essential step in their development. After all the essential things were explained, the students were dismissed and allowed to catch their trains. As most students headed to their trains, Midoriya no Chako followed Ida, wanting to talk to him before he left. "Hey, Ida!" Midoriya shouted as both he and Uraraka caught up to him. Ida stopped for a moment, allowing both students to catch up. Once he was close enough, Midoriya continued speaking. "Hey, if you ever need to talk or anything, just let us know, okay?" Uraraka nodded vigorously, agreeing with the statement but not knowing what else to say. "We're friends, right?" "Yes," Ida responded and started walking away.
I'm telling you, he's going to do something stupid.
Venom said inside Midoriya's mind, prompting him to act. "Ida!" Midoriya shouted, catching up to him and putting his hand on his shoulder. "I mean it. We're worried about you. I don't want you to get in trouble or do anything crazy." "Don't worry. Everything will be fine," Ida responded, trying to put on a happy face, but Venom saw through it. Since Midoriya was still making contact with the boy, Venom let out a small pile of goop that hid inside of Ida's clothes. Ida, Midoriya no Chako, then all went their separate ways. Midoriya hopped on a train headed to Nabarro City, an area known for having a particularly high amount of troublemakers and incidents. Once he reached his stop, he grabbed a phone and followed the directions to the address he had been given, arriving at a construction site. He looked around but found no one there, much less a hero.
Are you sure we have the right place?
Venom asked as Midoriya stared at the address on his phone. "I was just asking myself the same thing, partner."
Hey! Look out down there!
A voice shouted. Moments later, a woman with bunny ears landed in the area, kicking up a huge cloud of dust.
Are you ready to take down some baddies?
Mirko asked once the dust dissipated, while Midoriya looked at her in amazement. This was the number 7 hero. This coming week was undoubtedly going to be exciting.
Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. If you like the female voices, check out Olivia, also known as All or Nothing on the gram. It's all linked in the description below. This was real fun. I hope to do this again. If you like the voices, please comment below. And we might see or hear each other again. Bye!